All right, guys, you're going to do your lesson today. When you open it up on D2L, you're going to see that I put a warm-up, but since I'm not there today, I'm not going to worry about that. So you can skip on to the next slide. So today our learning goal is 3.3. The student will understand how to calculate simple interest. All right, so interest is something that we use all the time in life. You're going to see this a lot with banks, or if you go to borrow a car, buy a house. It's just another place we use percentages in our life. So the first question says, suppose you deposit, $500 in a bank account that earns simple interest at 1.2% per year. You keep it in the bank for 2 years. Which of the following is or are true? So there's a few things we have to understand about simple interest, which are these vocabulary words down here. So when I talk about probably the easiest one is interest. Interest is money that you make. Okay, so if I put money in the bank, like in my savings account, and it's there for 2 years, and I make $2 or $3, that's the extra money that you get off of the bank borrowing your money. The interest rate is always going to be in a percent. And, whoops, if I can spell percent. I still can't spell it. Percent. There we go. Interest rate is always a percent. So if I'm looking at the problem up above, I'm looking at this right here. That is the percent right there for my interest rate. So 1.2%. Okay. If I'm looking at the time, okay, if I look at the problem at the top, right here, it's saying it is in 2 years. So that is how long I want to keep the loan. And it always has to be in years. So if it's not in years, then you have to convert it to years. So an easy way to convert it to years, let's say I want to borrow it for 1 month. That's 1 out of 12. So that's a pretty easy way to convert it. Okay. All right. Principal is your starting amount that you start with. Okay. So whatever I start with, that is going to be the beginning. So this is what I start with. Or beginning balance, however you want to say that. Okay, over here, this is actually the formula we're going to use, and I went ahead and put a nice little picture so you can see we've got I equals PRT, and remember when these are touching, that means it's multiplication. So this is the principal. We said the principal is the amount you start with. Then you have your interest rate, which is your percentage, and then you have how long. And all you have to do is multiply those three together, and that will tell you how much interest you'll make off of that investment. So if we go back and look at our question, it says, which of the following are true? Okay, so this is saying R equals 500. So that's saying that the rate right here is 500. Well, that doesn't make sense because if I look at the question, it says I deposit 500. If I deposit 500, that's what I'm starting with. That's my principal. So that does not make sense. Okay, let's say that I look at this one. This one says T equals 2. So that's saying right here, T equals time, and this said 2 years. That would be 2, so that one would be true. All right, the next one says P. P says it is the principal. Okay, no, that's the interest rate. That's not a principal. Principal, again, is what we start with. That's not what I started with. And the last one is I equals 12. And so to figure out if that's correct, then we would actually have to do the problem. So I'm going to start with, let's see here. I find a good place to write. So I'm going to start with, oh, my pen stopped. Let's see here. Okay. All right, so I got my pen to work. All right, so I've got the interest, which I don't know, so I equals the principal, which is P, so that's my starting, which is 500, times the rate, and here's the trick, guys. Rate always has to be in decimal form. So if I start with the 1.2, I got to move it back. So I'm going to move it back 2 times, and I'm going to put in this number because it always has, just like we've been working in class, it always has to be in decimal form to actually use it. And then I'm going to say times 2. Okay, so let's pull up my calculator. Okay, so now I've pulled up my calculator, and I'm going to do 500 times 0.012 times 2 years, and I get a total of 12. Okay, so I come back over here and say, okay, after I multiplied all those together, I got 12, and that is true. Okay, I'm going to pause this video and make sure it's recording before I keep going. So go ahead and just click on my next video. Thanks, guys.